to another episode. This one is a technical episode on Oracle SQL, and of course, the subsequent one will be on PLSQL as well. So this will be a learn by doing. So you would have learned SQL statements, and you would have also learned about PLSQL. So if you are interested in the case study, yes, you go through my presentation, and in case if you are interested in getting the associated document, the case study document for SQL and PLSQL, do comment on this presentation with your email IDs so that I can send across the case study to your email directly. But yeah, most importantly, yes, you can watch through from a solution perspective. After you complete the case study, you can also watch through the presentation so that you can then check whether whatever you're done on SQL and PL SQL is similar, or you're getting the same kind of results for this case study. So, and thank you for watching it, and I hope you watch the entire presentation and do subscribe to my channel as well. Thanks and cheers.
Welcome back. Let's now look at the real SQL part of the case study. So the business scenario is almost same. We'll be using just a company called XYZ, an illusionary company, just to understand. We'll be using that again. It's into manufacturing of computer systems, direct sales, and distribution channel. So it's almost similar to the SQL, same company we'll be using in this case study as well. And what is important is that you need to have the tables and the data, the transactions in the sales order table. It needs to be there, and it is based on the purchase order received from the end customer. You need to have the data, appropriate customer data, the appropriate the sales order data, all needs to be there. It needs to have this case study will be focusing on the main components of PL/SQL, which is the procedures, the creation of a trigger, the sequence, as well as finally as well as the package, which consists of the procedure specification and procedure body. So it's all about creation of that. So as I said, the first part is, of course, you need to have the tables created through the SQL, and you need to have the appropriate transactions in the table for you to work forward. And basically, as I said, you need to focus on creating the procedures and appropriate trigger. Why trigger? The reason is when the invoice, you have to create a trigger on the invoices table to ensure that you update the order table, the order status as closed once you have an invoice transaction. So invoicing, the total sales per transaction depend upon the discount offered and the taxes application of taxes on that particular transaction. Based on the purchase order value received, the customers needs to be automatically calculated towards the calculation of the total sales amount. The appropriate discount and taxes, 10% taxes needs to be considered. So you need to have 10% tax and discount that is already provided in the SQL. You can always refer to the case study of the SQL as what is the discount structure which is going to be there. Customer invoice needs to be generated at an appropriate time based on the delivery required date calculation, which is the purchase order date plus 15. That is the, you need to update the requisition date. That is, you need to have a procedure in place to have the requisition date calculated. So the first step is in continuation with the SQL case study, create the invoices, and the relevant transactions are created or updated in the table. Discounts, taxes needs to be considered, and total order value needs to be arrived. Freight amount needs to be calculated. So these are the things you need to look at. That is where you need to create either probably you can design in such a way as anonymous block and then execute. Few columns, that is as far as we have created few columns in the sales order table and left it empty. That is while creation of the database table. One required column is the required delivery date. Update all the required delivery dates of the based on the sales order date plus 15 days. So the lead time, this is basically the lead time for delivery is plus 15 days based on the entry of the sales order date. Whatever is entered plus 15 days has to be updated in the required delivery date column. And create PL/SQL procedure functions to calculate the following: the line level sales order total amount considering the discount. So gross total is the order total should be calculated as follows: the gross order total is equal to the sum of the unit into quantity, because each order, sales order, will have a sales order line, and naturally one is the sales order table, which is at the header level, and at the line level is what you're going to have the quantity multiplied by unit price, and sum of all of them for that particular order will give the gross total. And then if there are any discount, you need to apply a discount, and taxes needs to be applied at 10%. So taxes needs to be applied at 10%. Insert into the invoice table once the goods are due to delivery by checking the sales order date. While creating the invoice record, and again, if you look at it, this is a condition 5%. Otherwise, you don't need to calculate. More than 100k is where you need to calculate the freight charges. Otherwise, that's not there. While inserting into this is where, because an order which is already order is closed, you don't need to process. So basically, while inserting into the invoice table, that is where you need to have appropriate trigger to update the order status table, so that at a later point of time you don't need to pick that particular record. So basically, for that procedure, you have the order ID column. Based on the order ID column, you can create the invoice. While creation of the invoice, you need to have the order status updated, so that for later, once the order status is updated as closed, you don't do further processing. So that is about it. Think through it. This case study is available for download. So what you could ideally do is you can download, think through, and then start having procedures, about 3 different procedures. One for having the line, the required delivery date updation. The other one is for the calculating the gross order total and checking the discount percentage. Again, the discount percentage, you can refer back to the SQL case study, wherein you'll find the percentage discount. So that you need to consider. And then the amount taxes. What is the tax amount? It is 10%. So all these are through the procedure. You need to have the procedure in place and update the appropriate columns with the using this procedure. So ideally, it is about again same about 6-7 hours of work. Maybe approximately, if you work together, it should take about a day's time to think through the case study and work out the procedure. So think through it and have the procedures in place, test out the procedures, and then of course I'll be providing the solution post this lecture, so you can validate with my solution part. Hope you find it useful. So stay tuned. Thank you. So the first step is execute this procedure, PLSQL solve1.sql, which is you can execute as an anonymous block. This is to update the sales order requisition date. That's the procedure. We will see that quickly review that anonymous block procedure before executing. So this is the procedure script. So this is, you can execute as an anonymous block. So basically we are using the for cursor. If it is closed and cancelled, then that sales order we are not supposed to touch. Only if it is open, pending, or some other status, then you have to update the requisition date. SO date plus 15 is what is going to be the requisition delivery date, and based on the particular sales order ID, it gets into the loop, and it has to update the sales order requisition date. As very simple. So for each of the order ID which is not in closed or cancelled, we have to update the requisition date through the loop. That's the requirement, and you can execute it as an anonymous block. So let's execute it. So for execution, you go to click this one and drag and drop into the worksheet. Then you will have the entire procedure, the anonymous block in place. In this case, actually, we are not creating any of the procedures, so we are just executing is an anonymous block. If you have done it creating a procedure, well and good. In fact, I'll show you that all the 2 or 3 procedures, you can make it into a package. That's the best practice, to have it as a package with a package body consisting of various procedures. I mean, most of the commercial applications will have it as a in such a way, but as a learner, yeah, you need to get comfortable with the anonymous block, and then of course creation of the procedures and functions, and finally, yes, as you go progress into developing a commercial applications, then you need to have the package and package body. So let's execute it, this one, and see what happens. So it should get executed. So now it's, yeah, so it should have got executed. Let's see the table, let's see the sales order table and see what are those values and data, and finally, yeah, this is updated. I mean, based on the days, I mean, somewhere in just arbitrarily I've given the date as 2013. So 15 days is what is, it gets added up. So whatever date you have provided plus 15, the program calculates and updates, because all these status, we don't have any of them in closed or cancelled status. All are just made as pending. You can have your own status. So closed status meaning, yes, it has gone into, that's the business process. It goes into the invoice table, then you can make it closed. Or in case if the order is cancelled, then you shouldn't process that specific order. Otherwise, whatever the status, then you need to have the requisition delivery date updated. So the first part of the case study is done. That is the update of requisition delivery date, adding the SO date plus 15 and updating all of the rows respective order status, which is in open status. It should not be closed or cancelled. So those are updated. So the first step is over. We'll progress with the next step. Thank you. Let's progress further. I mean, the next requirement is to update the sales order total and the discount and tax data. There is a script. I mean, in this case, what I have done is have a procedure in place. Yes, the next step is this one. SQL2.SQL, PLSQL sol2.SQL is to create the procedure. Procedure will be created, and then post that is the then execute that procedure is what is 2.1. So we will see, open that procedure and see the details. So this is the procedure. Just one more point to note here is that, see, if you look at it, this is how the commercial PLSQL procedure needs to look like. You need to have the file name detail, descriptions, what it does, and you need to have appropriate history. Again, a procedure is created, then there is some changes which is requested by the business, or if there is a bug in it, you have to update it. And this is maintained in the source as a source control in the commercial applications. So you need to have a process of having a source control so that it goes into the production as appropriate. So all this you need to have appropriate comments in them. What is the details? All this needs to be provided and maintained properly, particularly when you progress into the developing a commercial application. So basically, I mean, if you look at it, create a replace procedure, tax is 10%, just hard coded it. Ideally, in a commercial application, prevent hard coding. You need to have it from details from the front end application. So here it is 10%, just for understanding. It is made as hard coding is done. Otherwise, cursor, again, same process, closed and cancelled should not be there. And then you are getting select sum from, if you look at it, from the sales line item. Sales order line item is what is having the unit price and the quantity multiplied, and then it gets into the gross total. And yeah, if there is a discount, you select the discount, and finally is what is the update. You are updating it for the current sales order. So this is the procedure to calculate the amount. Yeah, if there are appropriate discount and taxes, then that needs to be 10% is the taxes. So all these three columns are going to be updated in the sales order table once the procedure is executed. The first step is to create this procedure. The next step is to execute that procedure. Let's progress. So as always, yeah, you got to drag and drop it over here. So naturally that will open up the procedure. If you look at it, there is no procedure as of now. in the left hand side of the SQL developer pane. If you look at it, the procedure is not there, but post executing it will create that procedure. So let's create that. So script is running, it's creating the procedure. So PLSQL is compiled. So let's refresh it. Yeah, here is the procedure. So this is created. And one more thing is with the SQL developer, if it is not valid, you will get a red indication it's not valid. So this procedure is already in place. Point to note here is if you look at the sales order, it is still sales order data. I mean, it is still not updated. The reason is that if you look at grand total discount or taxes, it is not updated at all. The reason is we have only created the procedure, we have not executed it. Let's execute the procedure and then see what happens. So this is the script. What I'm going to do is can be run as an anonymous block. I'm just going to copy it. Just copy this part alone and execute. So just copy this and go to, yep. So let's execute it. Yep. So now we will see the sales order details and check what is there. So data. So yeah, the sales order table, discount is 0 because if you look at the SQL part, the case study, it doesn't, none of them qualify for the discount. So that's where this part is 0. Taxes, it is calculated as well. And again, this is based on whatever values you have in the sales order line. It ran through the sales order line, and then this procedure, execution of the procedure, updated the sales order total and the taxes, which is 10%. You look at it, it has updated record by record. So that's about having a procedure to taking it from the lines table. Based on the lines table, that is the sales order lines table, we have updated the sales order header table, that is with the total order value and the taxes as well. So thank you, stay tuned. So we have completed till up to 2 and 2.1. 3 is the procedure towards the invoices generation. So that we have to create, and there is a parameter you need to pass the order ID, so that it creates an invoice, and of course you can execute it. So we will see that now. So let's run through the procedure quickly. Insert into the invoice table. This is the procedure. We'll run through it quickly. So create procedure. It takes the order ID as the parameter. If you look at it, it takes the order ID as the parameter, and then again you are retrieving based on the order ID, that only one particular record we need. We are retrieving it, and status should not be closed or cancelled. So if it is already closed, that means invoice is already generated. So we are calculating the freight, and only if the order total is more than 100K, then only the freight needs to be calculated. Otherwise, the freight shouldn't be taken into account. Suppose that all the details are inserted into the invoices table, that is the invoice header and in the invoice line item. So let's execute and see the results. So as always, drag and drop over here into the, okay, so same procedure, 3 and create proc. If you look at over here, the procedure is not there. That's what we are going to create. So once we execute, that procedure needs to be created. So let's run this procedure so that the procedure gets created. We are not executing the procedure, we are just creating it. So the procedure is created. So now let's refresh and see that, yeah, this procedure is created. But still, if you look at it, the invoice tables are, if you look at the data, it is not there. We need to execute this procedure by passing the sales order ID So based on the sales order ID, it picks up the sales order details and populates into the invoice table. So let's do that. So this is what is the procedure we are going to execute. As I said, you need to pass it as a parameter. So sales order ID as well is what we are going to pass it as the parameter. So we will execute it. Yeah, it is done. Now let's take a look at the invoices table. Close it first. Go to the invoices table, look at the data. Yeah, we already have created the invoices table for the SOID 12, and we look at invoices lines, and even that is created as well. So based on the passing the sales order number, we have created the we have created an entry into the invoice table. But point to note here is we have not created a trigger. So one of the requirement is to create a trigger so that whenever an invoice line is created, you need to have appropriately update the sales order table as well. So we have not done that. So we will, in the next step, we will create a trigger and see what happens taking another sales order ID and create an invoice so that the order status is also will get updated. That is using a trigger. It should automatically happen when you have appropriate trigger in place. Thank you. Stay tuned. Let's now look at the trigger scripts. So as we're saying, as invoice is generated, it gets updated into the invoice table or inserted into the invoice table. A trigger scripts needs to be executed, and that will update the order status to closed. So we have to have a trigger in place. So if you look at it, you have for each row, then only you can use the new or old values. So for each row is what is the trigger we are going to have, and that will update the order status to closed, where SO order ID is new invoice.SOID. So this needs to be so that the order status is updated. So we will first have to create the trigger. It's not in place. We got to create that, and then yes, we'll insert a record into the invoice table and see that it works. The order status is getting updated or not. So we will drag and drop. Yeah, now it's in place. So if you look at as of now, let's look at the trigger. Yeah, it is not there. So let's execute, and then we will see that the trigger is created. So trigger procedure, trigger. Yeah. So this trigger is created now. So you have the database trigger in place. So which should update the status when you do a fresh insert into the invoice table. Then it will update in the SS order table with the status as closed. So we will now execute that procedure, passing execute the procedure related to the invoice creation, passing the order ID, and then check the status as whether it is getting updated or not. If you look at it, for now, all the status, SO order, SO order status, it's all pending. So we will see that, so what we'll do is we will have it for order ID 10, which is currently in pending status. We'll execute and see whether that is getting closed. So let's execute this. Yeah, so now we have passed 10. So, and look at the invoice table. So 10 is there. And now let's look at the order status table. So getting into the order status table, that should, for 10, it needs to be closed. Yeah, it is closed. So we have this also closed. Sorry. 12, at that point of time we didn't have the trigger in place, so it didn't close the 12, so ID 12, whereas 10, it is what we ran now. I mean, earlier I ran for 11, so that is closed, and 10 is also closed, so the trigger part is also working. So if you're done on your own the case study, well and good. Otherwise, if you go through the sequence, have the scripts, go through the sequence, create all the tables, and then create all the procedures and execute one by one, you'll understand it better. Thank you.